Hello, good morning. It's just gone 3:30 a.m. on Tuesday, the 1st of April, April Fool's Day. I'm setting off to do a 300-kilometre DIY Audax this morning. This will be month 12 of my year target, a Randonnuer Round the Year RRtY. It's an Audax award for consistency. In effect, you need to ride at least a 200-kilometre event every month for a year, consistency. So I started last May, and today being April, I wanted to finish off with the 300. This will be my 17th Randonnuer Round the Year over the years. I've referred to it in recent videos. I've ridden these distances and above many times over the years. But as I age, I find I'm slowing down, and because they're timed events, they're getting harder and harder. So I've just had a fry up here. It's trying to stack the odds in my favour. It just means I don't have to eat on the road, hopefully until about lunchtime. And talking about lunchtime, the name of the ride is Llandovery for lunch. That's where I'm heading, Llandovery, from my hometown in Bath, almost diagonally up through mid-Wales to Llandovery at the far side of Brecon Beacons National Park. And then I'll be coming back a slightly different way in places, but in effect it's an out and back route. So 95 miles out to lunch, 95 miles back tonight. As I said, it's a timed event. So my time allowance for this event is 21 hours and 11 minutes. So I aim to start off at 5 a.m. and that gives me until 11 minutes past 2 tomorrow morning. I'm wearing glasses. It just saves me faffing around with contact lenses, and also sometimes my vision can get a bit blurry if I keep them in for too many hours. And these are transition glasses, they'll just darken with the sun. Anyway, I'm going to be filming on my phone, so I'm only going to vlog as and when I stop. I'll give you some updates, and if I fail, I'll admit it, I'll still post it. So I just need to go upstairs shortly and change, and then I'll be on my way. I'll see you on the road. I'm less than half an hour in already. You can already see the start of the pre-sunrise colouring of the sky. It's very blue over there where my finger is. Sunrise is at 6:48 this morning, so well over an hour to go, but it's starting to get light over in the east already. I'm on the Bath to Bristol bike track. I'm actually heading up towards the Severn Bridge. I'll talk to you more when we get to the Severn Bridge. It's just gone 7:15 a.m. and I'm on the Severn Bridge, as you can see. I'm just going to be filming on my phone today, short little vlogs. So there's no wind muff on the microphone, it's just the camera's microphone. So excuse any wind noise. And you may see behind me, the sun has just risen. That's what's been lighting up these towers. I've seen them from miles away, so I dropped down off the A38. They were originally a pinky hue. Now the sun's actually risen, they're taking on that orangey hue. Then during the day, they almost turn to bleach white. Anyway, we're going over the Severn Bridge, skirting around the edge of Chepstow and climbing up over that hill line there. Then we climb out of this big Severn estuary, drop down to the Usk Valley at the small town of Usk, and then we follow that for quite a few miles. It's 300-kilometre DIY this, that's about 187 miles. They need to be at least 300, so I always make them slightly over. Today's distance is 303, I believe, where it's at about 188.4 miles. So hopefully, as long as I'm over 188 when I get home, if I have got a slight Garmin glitch, I can always ride around the block a couple of times. But it's good to know what you need to do in miles. So for the uninitiated, if you're unfamiliar with Audax, it's a continental concept, hence why I switch between kilometres and miles. All the official done is in kilometres, but once I start riding, I work in miles, so why wouldn't I? My garments are calibrated in miles, all the signposts are in miles, so I can switch between the two quite easily. Anyway, because it's 300 kilometres, it's what they call a mandatory route. I've submitted a GPS track, and I need to stick that as closely as possible. I'm expected to follow that track. Obviously, there's a little bit of leeway in case I get diverted because of, I don't know, breakdowns and I have to go get some spares, or if the road's closed, that sort of thing. But you are expected to stick that route as closely as possible, and I always try to. They do ask you to provide control points around about every 50 kilometres, so I'll put those up on the screen now. You can see the first one is at Llandovery, so climb over that hill. As we drop down towards Usk, a few miles before we get in town, that's the first one. I've got quite a few layers on. I've got a short sleeve base layer on, a short sleeve cycling top, a nylon gilet for windproofing, and I've got my high vis on. So that's 4 layers. That's really just loaded with Scotch-Light, so I feel safer wearing that. I've got 2 lots of arm warmers on. I've got a thin nylon pair under here, and I've also got these thermal ones. So hopefully they're going to be coming off later on. I've got mitts. I have been wearing gloves. It was quite cold to start with, temperature cold rather than wind cold. And as the sun came up, I noticed there was a lot of frost on the cars. So hence the reason for that. But it looks like it's going to be a lovely day. That's looking upstream towards one of the power stations. And that's looking downstream towards the second Severn Bridge, all the splurge of Avonmouth docks. If you look at the profile of this route, it's pretty symmetrical because it's an out and back course. So you see there's a big lump in the first quarter, that's those hills over there, before we drop down the Usk Valley. And then when we get to Brecon, there's a long gradual climb up before then a steep drop down to Llandovery, the halfway point, and obviously all of that in reverse on the way back. I'll speak to you when we get over towards Usk. Well, it's now 10:15. I've made some good progress. I'm in Gilwern. So whereabouts is that? Well, we're right in the Brecon Beacons National Park here. So after the Severn Bridge, I climbed around the outskirts of Chepstow without going into it, over a Newton, dropped down to Usk. I'll sometimes stop at Usk on shorter rides for some brekkie, but I didn't need to today because that big helping I had before I left Bath. So I wanted to try and head here. So after Usk, I headed up towards Abergavenny. When I got to the outskirts of Abergavenny, I circuited it, avoided it, and went to Llanfoist, and now I'm at Gilwern. And this road I'm on now carries on following the valley this way, but I'm just about to drop down that way, and I'll come out on the minor road that runs alongside the A40. I'll go past Talibont, my second control, won't be stopping there. Then I'll carry on up to Brecon, where I'll take the bypass round actually, and then I've got about 20 miles on the A40, and it sounds not very nice, but it's not too bad at all. First of all, it's a fairly scenic road, and also Welsh A roads and B roads are normally quiet during the day. Just coming into Paris, mid Wales. Quick call to Nature Shop to give you an idea of the scenery. So we've just dropped down off those hills there. We're on the left hand side of the Usk at the moment. The A40 is that side. Just along there is Crickhowell. On the way back, we're going to cross the bridge just round that corner, go up to Crickhowell and go into Abergavenny that way. I will be going through Abergavenny on the way back, just because it's easier. This way's easier on the way out, that way's easier on the way back. It's beautiful along here. And this road goes up to Talibont on Usk, up to Brecon. It's spectacularly scenic along here. And shortly we'll be running alongside the Brecon and Monmouthshire Canal, which just adds so much more to this ride along here. It's a favourite with cyclists. Anyway, onwards to Talibont and Brecon. I'm in between Brecon and Llandovery on the A40, and I'm making really good time. I've never known this road be so easy in this direction, so I've got a tailwind. I think I'm going to pay the price on my way back. There's a point of interest I wanted to point out there. I'll wait for this car to zoom by. You don't get many cars, but when they do come by, they zoom by. That road up there is going up onto the firing ranges. It's part of the Sunny Bridge training area for the military, and that is the only dual carriageway lane I know of in the country. I'm not saying it's the only one, but it's the only one I've ever seen. That's amazing up over there. Can you see a dual carriageway country lane? And what it is, the road goes up there and it's mostly military vehicles, so you can imagine there's lots of heavy equipment going up and loaded wagons, etc. So it's kind of a crawler lane, but in effect it's just a very minor road. If you ever get a chance to ride across there, it's absolutely stunning. It's open most of the time to the public. You know, they only close it occasionally when there's live firing up there across the road. If you've looked at the profile on this ride, you'll see there was that big lump near the beginning. That was from Chepstow over to Usk. And then in the middle, there's like a dip, isn't there? So we're dropping down there now. So although we've only got 4 or 5 miles to go to Llandovery, most of it's actually downhill and then flat. Then obviously on the way back, we come round up here into the wind. I'm not sure if the wind's coming out on this phone, but I think it's pretty strong. So I'm guessing I'll be there around about 1:30, 1:45, 2 maybe. So that'll give me, 12 hours to get home. I think it's going to be quite hard coming back this way because of the wind. Normally it's actually wind assisted because the prevailing wind's westwards, but today it's eastwards. But no, I think the forecast says the wind's picking up this afternoon up to about 14, 15 miles per hour. So I'm going to be riding into that on these undulating roads. And then I think it drops round about as the sun starts going down, so the wind speed drops as the sun starts to drop. So hopefully the evening section will be a little bit easier, but I'm kind of preparing myself mentally and physically for a hard afternoon. Anyway, going to drop down there. Before we know what's what, we'll be at Llandovery. I'll see you there. Well, I'm at my halfway point, and it's about 1:45. That was fairly easy riding. Even going up the hills was okay because of the wind, but as we dropped down from the Sunny Bridge ranges, there were 3 lots of single file traffic. Even coming down, I only just made it through the light, so I waved all the cars behind me, through, and then I only just made it through myself. So on the way up, 2 of them I can kind of ride behind bollards and the closed lane. One of them I think I'm going to have problems. They're quite long ones. There's no way I'll get out there within the time if I couldn't do it coming down. Anyway, I was going to go to the cafe, but I've decided to have my lunch here actually on this seat with some sandwiches. I can have a quick turnaround. I'm quite keen to just wolf that down and get on the road as no later than 11 minutes past 2, and that gives me exactly 12 hours to get home. It's taken me, 7.5 hours to get here, 7 3/4, less than 8. So that gives me 12. That gives me 4.5 hours in hand, but I think it's going to be brutal on the way back. So you can probably tell with the wind noise, I'm sure that's coming out on film. Anyway, quick stop here, turn round, then I'll be on my way back. Bon appetit. It's now 5:30 PM and I'm just coming into my next control. This is Crickhowell. So just at the end of this single file bridge, I'm going to bear off to the right where that blue car's going to climb up to Crickhowell. You can probably hear the wind actually. That's looking up the stream. So when I came in, I actually came in from Gilwern where I had that snack down that road. But on the way back, I've come along this Talibon minor road. I'm going to climb up onto the A40 because this section between Crickhowell and Abergavenny is not too busy and it's also quite fast. It's been a brute since I left Llandovery. I mean, I was expecting it to be hard and it hasn't disappointed. It's just been a slog. What I will say is that the 3 or 4 mile climb gradual from Llandovery up to where I showed you that dual carriageway split minor road, that actually wasn't too bad. I got through all the traffic light chicanes, no problem at all. The lights just worked with me. I was able to pull in when I felt I was slowing cars up. Wind wasn't too bad, but once I got up on open ground, it's just been relentless all afternoon. I'm not complaining. I was expecting it. You can't fight it. You just got to manage it. So I'm going to go up into Crickhowell, have a snack, charge my garments, then do the next leg between here into Abergavenny within about half an hour or so when I leave here. And then there's the leg across to Usk. Then I'll probably have a final snack at Usk. There's a chip shop there. I'll stock up supplies. It will be getting darkish by about then, I expect. And then the long slog up over Shire Newton, dropping down towards the Severn Bridge. I'm hoping the wind's going to drop as it gets dark, but I'm also hoping that long climb is going to shelter me for the wind. And then, of course, when I get to the top, even with a headwind, it's mostly downhill to the Severn Bridge. So, yeah, it's been quite a tough afternoon, but I've been enjoying it. Anyway, next stop, find myself a sun trap, have a sandwich, and charge some devices. Okay, situation update. It's just gone 8:30 p.m. There's the last of the evening sunset glow. I'm at the top of the climb from Usk over the Chepstow. When I spoke to you last at Crickhowell after that snack, I seemed to make good progress. I did quite a fast bit on the A40 into Abergavenny. And instead of stopping at Usk, I thought I'd just pick up a snack there. So I got plenty of fluids, water, picked up a banana, and then I started making my way down to Usk, and it just got really easy. I thought at first maybe the wind had dropped or even changed, but I think the course was just weaving around, changing direction. And then I was making good progress, and I started to climb up here. And I just started getting cold on the way up. So I stopped to put on some more layers. I've got my woolly hat on, my head torch. I got my high-vis jacket on with all the Scotch light. I've got my ankle bands on. I was going to just put the thermal arm warmers on up here and try and stay in shorts, but it's so cold, and there's a long drop coming down. A lot of the ride from here is actually downhill. So I just think I need to prioritise keeping warm. So that's what I'm going to do, put the leg warmers on here, just give my Garmin a last charge, have a little mouthful and a swig of fluid, then drop down steeply, right outskirts of Chepstow, over the Severn Bridge, then it's about 2 hours back home. My Garmin's been estimating I'll finish around about 11 p.m. all afternoon, even with a painfully slow progress from Llandovery to Crickhowell. And because of my stops, that's probably going to be closer to midnight now. It's been drifting from 11 to 11:15, 11:30. So I phoned my wife up to tell her I'm ETAing about 12 o'clock. So barring mishaps and illnesses and breakdowns, I should get round with at least a couple of hours to spare. Anyway, I just need to put some leg warmers on now, gloves, and my thermal arm warmers for this big plunge down. I'll speak to you maybe on the Severn Bridge. Quick bit of footage from the Severn Bridge. I expect the wind noise is terrible. It's been really windy coming across there. I'm just really keen to get off. I'll talk to you down on the bike track, I think. It's about 9:45 and I've got about 23 miles to go. So I think it's going to be shortly after midnight I'll finish. Well, it's 12:10 and I'm about 1.5 miles from home. It's going to end up being about 189 miles, so nicely over distance. Just to summarise the last section then, from that bus shot on top of the hill, coming down that hill was brutally cold. I had every single layer on me, even then I was freezing. Coming across the Severn Bridge, you may have seen it's really blustery, also very cold. Then there was other sections where, whether I was just sheltered from the wind, or it even felt like I had a tailwind at times, it suddenly got easy again. I'd just get bouts I'd go from kind of one extreme to the other. And then I've just come down the Bath to Bristol bike track. When I turned left at Mangotsford, it's just been icy cold wind all the way. It really has been quite a hard ride, this one actually. This will be month 12 of my 17th Randonnuer Round the Year. So I'll submit the route tomorrow. Normally takes a week or so for it to be fully validated. You actually need to contact the RRtY people and tell them you want to apply for another one. They don't do it automatically. So I was 65 a few weeks ago, and you know, if I'd led a conventional life, I would have retired that day, probably been given a gold watch or a gold clock or something. I've lived far from a conventional life, but it just got me thinking. I wonder if I could still do a 300. I was pretty sure I could do the distance. I've done it so many times before, and as long as you build up to it, as I have been doing, I think I prepared quite well actually, mentally and physically. I didn't really have, I was fairly confident I could do the distance, and I've ridden so many other years. I know how to pace myself, engage myself again physically and mentally. Today was hard, but I was expecting it to be hard because of the wind, but it has been brutally cold. I was in shorts most of the day, and also I had my short sleeve top on with the high vis all day. I never really got into short sleeves. I scrunched the thinner arm warmers down around my wrist, but I don't think I can claim to have been in shorts and short sleeves today. It really has been bitterly cold. I'm enjoying it though. I've enjoyed it though. I'm really pleased to have done. I'm really pleased to know that I can still get round in the time. So I'm going to finish with just under 2 hours in hand, so it's fantastic. I'm going to go home and have a piping hot shower now before I dive into bed. I'm just so cold, I just want to warm up. If you got this far, thanks so much for watching, and hopefully the next video will be a little circuit I've got around the Athelstan Way. Thanks for watching, see you soon.